Cheryl, okay, so today, August 8th, and this workshop is about non-compliance. First, I gathered the questions from the participants to see if I can address most of them during and throughout the slides that I already prepared. So, the first slide, which is very important to me, is about accurate use of terms, which is the key. So what do I mean by that? So that slide is fully based on my experience throughout working with children. And so I am going to ask Tulsi to just single click every time to move only one click, and then I speak about it. So this is a kind of bar that you see, horizontal bar, that has two ends. One end is, we can click, one end is, right? Okay. There is a kind of spectrum. At one end, we have will of domineering, and on the other end is will of submission. Okay, that, and on the other bar, there is a kind of two categories, two end of a spectrum, incapability or lack of a skill, lack of ability, and fully being capable, fully skilled, and not have no issue in ability. So this one is a kind of graph that I wanted to talk about first. So with next click, we will define. So absolutely, the appropriate and adaptive behavior that we can expect from children are most of the time appearing when a child is showing tendency to comply. No issue with rules, no issue with legislation, or no issue with the figure of authority, and also no issue with skills. So we can expect appropriate behavior from that part. But this is a window with four squares. So each one of these squares are a matter of work later. So for example, this part, so just one by one, please. We shall just click here. This part is egocentric behavior. Egocentric behavior means that the child is not necessarily dealing with any issue with the skill or ability. The child can do the things, but the child is in will of domineering and control over environment. The child himself has decided, or thinks, even not deciding, think that he is the center of the world and everyone else exists to serve him, as a way that I'm the boss of the universe, and the philosophy of existence of other things around me are to make me happy. So I'm at the center of this, so I have a will of domineering the thing. And I cannot even believe that others might have or need something else from me. So capable, but will of domineering. Next one is autonomous. In autonomous behavior, the person is not that extremely egocentric, but still it is more inclined to domineering than submission. The child has unique identity, wants to do what he himself wants. He has adequate level of skills, is capable, no issue, but is not going to comply whatever you ask him. It's not going to behave submissively. Yeah. So next one is about negativistic behavior, which is a term that whatever we ask the child will do the opposite. So if we say, don't do that, the child does it. If we say, do that, the child doesn't do that. So as if there's a thing that the child intentionally plans to challenge the authority level of figure of authority, challenge authority, and then decide to make, decide to double emphasize that I'm in struggle of getting back the control of the decisions. So maybe there are several roots of negativistic behavior like attention-seeking behavior or anything, but still anything is because of will of domineering, mostly, not submission for sure. And most of the time it's related to lack of skills. Why I'm saying so is that most of the time, if a child is good at self-expression, if a child is good at language skills, the child can seek attention and can start deals or negotiation instead of negativistic behavior. In fact, negativistic behavior is a kind of behavior which is very immature to seek attention or to start relationship with the environment. Yeah. Next thing is non-adherence. Non-adherence is that mostly the child is not struggling with domineering, but actually the child doesn't know how to follow, doesn't know how to take in the routines and how to cooperate with the environmental demands. So it's a thing that it is called non-adherence, that as if the child who at the middle of following your orders forget the routine, forget the steps of activity. It's mostly related to lack of a skill and ability, lack of cognitive ability, forgetfulness, memory issues, language issues, weak auditory processing skills. Okay, it is called non-adherence, but it is not still non-compliance. Next one is about informal deviance. Informal deviance means like kind of if a child is not fully aware about social surroundings, so maybe picking nose in front of others without caring that, oh, others are looking at me, or that behavior inappropriate if I take off my pants just before getting into the washroom. Kind of is mostly related to lack of cognitive skills or ability, and also some tendency to stay in comfort zone, some tendency to get rid of responsibilities of the consequence of behavior. You see, I just want to be free. I just want to be free of structures. I just don't want to stick to consistency the way Mary mentioned. Okay? It's all about informal deviance. But next one is about formal deviance, that the child's skill or ability is rather higher than that, but the child intentionally has decided to play the bad man role, play the bad guy role. It's a feature of some breaking rules, bending rules, telling lies, kind of criminal situations, kind of dangerous things, annoying others, all the things that we can can mention about as if conduct disorder, or it will be ending to antisocial personality disorder. It's a kind of formal deviance that are kind of higher level of intensity of or severity of that inappropriate behavior. Okay, but for formal deviance and informal deviance, one of the things which needs excessive attention is that in these two ones, there is a kind of deviation with normal population for some reason because of the genes. Actually, the child doesn't have maximum control over the genes. Some people have more tendency to become addicted. some people have more tendency to be different, kind of different than normal population, and it's just harder for them to follow and obey some rules. Okay, so most of the time it's a political word and moral word. Even let's if we have a kind of flashback to 2, 3, 5 decades ago when LGBTQ populations were not being respected the way currently it is, and I'm happy about that as well. But 5 decades ago, that deviation from normal population would not be accepted. Even that would be considered as a kind of bad thing, inappropriate behavior, bad behavior. So it is the thing that I want to mention about deviance, either formal or informal one. So next one is about defiance. So defiance is deliberate decision of the child to stand against and resistance against the orders of the figure of authority, specifically if the child feels that the person in front of him is forcing him to do that, and it's a matter of power, it's a matter of control over the environment. Most of the time, the child says, I can do it, and if you didn't talk to me like a boss, if you weren't bossy to me, I might decide to do that. I might have decided to do that. But now that you talk so, I decide not to cooperate with you. So it's a kind of deliberate act of defiance. Okay? And most of the time, it's the term most coming out from high level of anxiety of control and inability to make a good image of oneself, that the child decides to represent the role of the people who deliberately are going to take the role of bad man, even though they can be good men. Okay? It's a kind of reactive behavior. It's a reaction. Yeah, it's not necessarily related to skills or abilities. Next one is about non-conformance. So non-conformance is very different from the other terms. The child might be fully willing to be even submissive, might want to cooperate with us, might want to be a good boy, girl, might want to make us happy, but cannot meet the expectation. It's fully because of lack of a skill. It's fully because of issues like language disorder, language comprehension disorder, lack of communication abilities, or many, many issues that are purely and solely related to the things that are related to lack of skills or incapability. It is called non-conformance. And lastly, non-compliance is here. Okay, so all the slides were about that part. That how we can talk about the slide is that non-compliance exists at that part of this. So we have to differentiate it from defiance, from non-adherence, from non-conformance. Okay? If we can define the word non-compliance in the true word, and if we know where it exists mostly toward will of domineering and mostly about being capable of doing the things, but still struggling with a few skills that doesn't make it easy for the child to comply with the rules, like kind of lack of fear of failure or things like this. Yeah. But what we can say about non-compliance is that it is very important to see how we can interpret a behavior once we name it accurately. in the beginning, I would say that just as if the majority of people are Persian speaking, so I can say just one word of Persian, like kind of Sheikh Safid or Sheikh Safid. Um, so the one who is stubborn and keeps arguing with us and directly look at us, look at into our eyes, I then says, I won't do it. It's kind of chest flipping. So there's a kind of sound that I can hear. Okay, so maybe the kind of someone is not unmute. Someone is not mute. Anyway, it is very important to have an accurate attribution to the observed behavior. Then we can address it. Yeah. So next slide, please. Now. So in general, non-compliance has a lot of functional benefits for a child. And it is a very, very important slide again. Functional benefits of any misbehavior like non-compliance event, okay? We need to detect that every human being, every living organism has two tendencies. Tendency to stay at favorite situation and avoidance from unfavorable situations. Neither of us prefer unfavorable things. It's obvious. We don't prefer unpreferred things, yeah? And this comes from the term. So if we have a kind of orientation towards something, it means that upon initial appraisal, I would feel that that situation is harmful, unfavorable to me, disgusting. So I just want to avoid it. I just want to get rid of it. I don't like it. I don't like it happening. And on the other hand, I just want to stay at my comfort zone. I just want to feel maximum mastery over the environment. I am motivated at this situation, and I feel I'm free of any obligation because I can have my own decision when to do what, where, and how. But in contrast, there is a kind of a structure, like kind of limitations, and a child might feel he's stuck between the rules and legislation and has to obey something that he cannot predict about his next step, or the activity which might be boring to him or her, or there is a kind of fear of failure that a child feels that I'm not uh, at the authority to ride my life, to take a ride of my life. Okay, I have to just follow what is going to be happening, and I am like a kind of puppet doll with no intentional autonomy, just have to follow the thing. So it's a very important thing that most of the time non-compliance is verbal or non-verbal attempt of a child to gain back the control, to stay at favorable situation and to avoid unfavorable situation. Yeah? So we move forward. And now there are 10 working strategies to deal with non-compliance. First of all, it's about giving options when you can. So it's a kind of balance between structure and freedom, yeah? So on one hand, you know that you have to leave home right now or in 10 minutes, and you are not going to ask your child, do you want to come with me? Basically, you have to take your child with you because he's under the age of under that age that he is allowed to stay at home independently. So you have to take him. So why are you asking a question when that option is not a real option? Okay, so you can say that anyway, we have to go, but you have the options of this way or this way, this corridor or that corridor, yeah? Or you have the option of which shoes you want to put on today for going out, which shirt you want to put on to go out. Or if you feel that your child might choose a kind of inappropriate shirt or shoes that is not well matched with the weather condition, for example, you can limit the option that which one of these shirts you prefer to take. Okay, so they are the matter of options. When you give options, in fact, you are making sure that your child feels partial power over the environment, over the decisions, and then you can help the child deal better with with this non-compliant behavior or lessen those non-compliant behaviors. So next slide. It's about positive and confident vibe upon commanding. So this strategy of is the thing that I have observed that many of the caregivers or parents or therapists have some prejudice in mind that now I'm going to ask my child to do so, and I am fully sure that he is going to stand against it. With that feeling in the beginning, we have a kind of different voice in our vocal cords. We are tensed. We are thinking about the worst case scenario. We are thinking about non-compliance as a kind of critical situation. We feel helpless and frustrated even before commanding. But just assume that there is a situation that you can ask your question in a musical way, or when dancing, or with a smile on your eyes, or chunk it down, or talk with a kind of a little indifference that, okay, let's do it. If the child doesn't do that, okay, the way you wish, okay, so I will do it, or ignoring it for some time. Of course, there are some situations that this strategy is not going to work. When a child is going to slam a door, or if there is a kind of risk of danger or dangerous situation, you cannot say, okay, if you don't do that, that's okay. But sometimes that vibe of confidence, okay, and positive vibe that you trust the whole story, not overly zoom into that specific scenario that your child is going to struggle with you. Just zoom out and see yourself and your child, and then imagine that you are going to have a flash forward to 5 years later, at a time that you are not going to remember today. Okay? And then, if it is that important that you are as nervous as it right now, so it is the second thing that you need to work on yourself first. So, next thing is about sandwich technique, sandwich of two favorable comments with one unfavorable one. So it's a sandwich thing that if your child doesn't like to do writing task, you just put one line of handwriting, make a sandwich of first we shoot the ball, then one line of handwriting, then you can do some gym task or gym-based task or activity, or kind of a very, very quick fun game like trampoline game, jumping on trampoline. Okay, so sandwiching two favorable comments that you are going to order the child. I'm ordering you to go and have a chocolate, like that. It is a kind of I am a very crazy boss that my orders or comments are the ones that are in accordance with your will. So by doing so, by making sandwich, you can say that, okay, this is the kind of package that 1, 2, 3, and the package comes with children. So most of the time, children are the very wise businessmen. So they say that, okay, two good things, one bad thing. That bad thing is short and very brief and quick, but two good things. Wow. Okay, so good deal. So let's take it together. And it's the kind of package. So next thing is about random lottery of commands. Most of the time, if a child feels that there is an issue with the figure of authority, that you said it in a bossy way, and that's why I don't want to cooperate with you. But oops, I was bad luck. I just draw a card and it came that I have to wash the dishes. Well, I just draw a card and I realize that, oh, I should store out the laundry, no, the dirty clothes in my laundry basket, okay? So inside those lottery cards, you tend to make, there are kind of, you have to eat ice cream, or kind of you have to jump on trampoline, or you have to watch TV for 5 minutes, and also you have to sort out and tidy up your room for 5 minutes, and be explicit about the thing, measurable and visible changes. Tidy up the room with a kind of very, very broad way of expectation, and it's vague. No, the child doesn't understand what exactly he's supposed to do. Just putting 5 toys in the basket, chunk down that order in a way that is doable. Okay, so random lottery is that these cards are going to be shuffled, and the child is supposed to pick one and do it in a fun way. So by doing so, you are lowering your power of authority. Instead, you are going to say, let's go, let's see what happens. Let's go. If you are fully lucky, even 3 times in a row, you are going to have fun. So let's see what happens. So next thing is which role share power. Yeah, I have mentioned it in many of the workshops that it is very important to let your child not to be the last, or the last piece of a chain, the last piece of a power chain. Yes, it means that when we order our children, in fact, the child feels that he's the last person in the loop, that is only supposed to take or receive care, take care, and also being cared, being commanded, and in return, the child has no authority over the environment by commanding others, by asking others. In a way to switch the role, it means that now I teach you 5 minutes, now you teach me how to play PlayStation with you. So I am a parent that I'm better than you in math work. And I feel a authority, and unconsciously I have said that vibe of I'm better than you when solving the math equation or problem or question. But in return, there are the times that I'm I behave like a dumb person that is a little crazy and negligent or forgetful or inattentive, and it takes a lot of time for me to learn a very simple rule of a game, and I am not as good as you when working with your PlayStation joystick. So it's very important that you let your child know that that's okay that we don't know many things to the fullest. That's okay that we are not good at everything. So it's a share of power that's going to happen when switching the roles. Next thing is about meaningfulness, productivity, and visible achievement. Most of the time, when we say, okay, wash your body, When you go to take a bath or take a shower, wash your body carefully. Your whole body should be clean. Just imagine that a child at the age of 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 even, okay? How should that person understand that now his body or her body is washed or her body is cleaned? For most of the time, I have noticed that the child keeps washing one single area without paying attention to other areas of body. But once I ask the families to use kind of watercolor and putting the spots on the body of the child and give a sponge to the child, okay, you are supposed to use this sponge to wash off these watercolor spots from your body. So as a kind of uh, you know the paints that are not toxic, and you can easily find it in the market. Most of the paints that children play with are non-toxic. So just dropping some spot on the whole round of the body and then asking your child to wash his body so that no watercolor spot exists on the body. So in fact, there is a kind of visible achievement, okay, and it's meaningful way of washing. Or when I tidy up my room, it's better to take a kind of before after. So I take a picture, it's before, then we briefly tidy up a part of room and we take another picture and it is after. So let's compare to see the changes. What things have been tidied up so far? What things are going to be tidied up in the next picture, okay? So it's a thing that it gives more meaning to making the room tidied up or a kind of working on a productive way in a way that the child feels that, okay, once I make some artwork or craft work, my mom is not going to forget picking up from clinic and take it home. Most of the time, we spend about 1 or 2 hours over craft work with a child, and the child is working with it hardly, seriously, taking it serious. And then the mom said, thank you very much, and then leave it here, leave it in the clinic. So we keep it in the summer storage for the next visit. But most of the time, the child might feel that the artwork hasn't been valued enough. Yes? So next thing, number 7, is about make a riddle or a discovery-based journey. As if you say, bring a glass of water, bring a cup of water for me, the child the child doesn't find any novelty or it doesn't activate his motivation because it's a kind of boring order. It's kind of not attractive order. Okay, but if you say that, I have a feeling, and that feeling is that my throat feels dry, and I'm I feel that I'm about to pant like a dog, and I don't know what I feel. Maybe, maybe there is a solution for that. What is the solution that I can make my throat a little? I can get rid of that dryness in my throat. Uh, do you know how to help me at this? Okay, so there is a thing that we can say a discovery-based journey that make it more fun for the child to follow it. Or even you can say it in a kind of mysterious or discoverable language, that kind of and the child said, what? And he said, and then the child might prefer to prove you that he got your language, he realized your language, so he does it for you. Yeah? So next one is about listing down the number of successful compliance and work on token chart. So I double emphasize on shrug and shoulder when a child doesn't do your order or request. Okay? To minimize the purpose of attention-seeking behavior from a child, or shrug your shoulder. Okay? But at the end of the day, all of a sudden, you sit and ask your child to sit and say, okay, I have listed down the number of times that I said something, and every time what you did. I asked you to put on your shoes upon going, no, before going out. You did it very well. Check. So there is a token for that. There is a token for that. Oh, you didn't do that. I should remove one token. Or there is a red token. So let's count how many green tokens you could gather at the end of the day. Today you gather 6 green tokens. It's a wonderful thing. Let's see if we can make it better in next hour. Let's see if we can make a better record for next day. So it's a kind of token chart that should be visible to the child, accessible to the child so that you can track his progress, okay? To see that you care about the number of times he is complying. Instead of counting the number of unsuccessful attempts, count the number of successful compliance time. Next thing is about ask the child how you wish to do that. It's about the matter of sharing power and autonomy. Sharing power and autonomy and also making the fair balance between structure and freedom. In fact, you are mentioning that anyway, we are going to do that. Anyway, we will do that. We will do that. It means that do you need my help or you can do it all by yourself? Do you want my physical help? Do you want me to motivate you verbally? Or do you want me to leave you alone and trust you? And then once I get back after 5 minutes, you have done it. Do you want to use this corridor or that corridor? Do you want to think about how you wish to do that? For children at the age or language skills that are able to understand the ways of doing the thing, it's a very, very working strategy. And last one for today is about routines and visual schedule and a question mark as a daily surprise. Most of the time, specifically when working with children with autism, we are recommended to use visual schedule. These children need lots of predictable routine, and then once they can predict the next step and next step and next step, they are happily agreeing with it. So there is no matter of non-compliance at this time because they can predict and they are more flexible upon transitioning from one activity to another because they know the next step and they have made their mind ready for that change or transition. So it's a very good thing in case of visual schedule. It partially might give a kind of response or answer to one of the questions that has been asked earlier about that insistence on specific color. And let's say that on that visual schedule, we can put a kind of question mark or a star, and in the beginning of the day, we say that so we can do this. We have to do this, then at 5 a.m. this, then at 9 a.m. this, then breakfast, then color work, then anything else, okay? Oh, there is a question mark. It is the surprise of the day. It is something unknown. I cannot say it right now. We need to wait till it's the time of that question mark. Once we get to that step, we realize what it is. Then, once we get to that step, we roll a card, we turn it back, we turn the card or something, or on the other side of that star, maybe it's written that, for example, ice cream, or doctor, or clinic, or park, or red color. And then that surprise, that surprise is could be favorable one or unfavorable one. For a few times of the day, we can practice the favorable one, but occasional time that thing could be non-favorable. And the child should practice patience, patience over waiting for that vague and unclear step and make the child a little nervous and worried and concerned about that unclarity of that step as a surprise of the day. And then the child learns how to improve his resilience by waiting patiently and accepting that sudden change or realizing that anyway, it's just a step. No matter if it is favorable or unfavorable, it's just a step. And then right after that, we get back to another known activity or known step, which is mentioned in visual schedule. So it's kind of thing that I felt is going to be working for most of the children with ASD that are in need of working with a visual schedule. So let's move to the next slide. The other important advice that I'm going to just move it very quickly. Even I don't think that I need to talk about it very quickly, but just click. Let's go. Yes, the other thing about the reason behind non-compliance should be detected first. Once we understand the reasons, we can work on that. Once we realize the antecedents of non-compliance behavior, once we mention that what just happened just a few seconds before that non-compliance, we should detect the antecedent first, and then we can find a kind of correlation, either potential cause-effect relationship between antecedents and the behavior that we can discover it, and then we can provide the motivating benefits of the exact non-compliant behavior through a better approach. Like kind of, if the reason that a child is manifesting non-compliant behavior is seeking autonomy, work on some approach that provides a sense of autonomy in advance, just before those non-compliant behavior. If the reason of non-compliant behavior of a child is mostly about lack of a skill, you can simplify, chunk down the activity, make it simpler, explain it in a more simple language, or skip that skill, or improve that skill, okay, in a way that the child feels more skilled upon doing that task. Then the child doesn't feel he needs to manifest non-compliance. So staying firm, closing the doors on the child, closing the negotiation doors on child, okay, and staying firm is a key. Staying on the same page between two parents or two caregivers, that if someone is saying this and the other person is saying something else, so the child feels, okay, so it's not a kind of rule, it's a thing that I can negotiate with. It's a kind of optional rule that my mom is too sensitive that ordering is so, because my dad is laughing at this scenario. My mom is asking me to tidy up the room and I'm running away, and my dad is laughing that, oh, I love a star. He's my favorite star. It remembers me when I was a child. I was so, okay, dad. It remembers you when you were a child. But at this moment, that laughter is going to send a kind of weird signal to the child that, okay, so that behavior is not unacceptable. It's a kind of acceptable and funny, and your mom is a little nervous and sensitive on that, okay? So staying on the same page between parents, between caregivers, between therapists upon having a command is a very, very important thing. So next slide. If you really feel that it is very hard for you to stay firm on your request or orders, seek consultation service to get to know yourself. get to know, dig and delve your past memories as a child, why you unintentionally, why you unconsciously uh, feel a bad feeling upon taking a role of authority. Whenever you feel that if I'm put on an authority, there is a risk of being unfair to my child. Maybe you have some feeling of unfairness when you have been a child. Yes? So for some similar reasons, you need to seek for consultation, advice, or services to make sure that you have worked enough on yourself and knowing the consequence of what you are and how you behave and the dynamics of the family system. So the other things are about not being too sensitive about non-compliance. Don't carry too much the way that your child feels that it is more important to you than to he himself. Take a deep breath, zoom out, and just remember that all such critical scenarios that you are dealing at the moment are the forgettable scenarios after 4 or 5 years. And um, lastly, work on improving the child skill. Don't underestimate the last one, the last advice. Most of the time, the fundamental reason that a child is not complying with the rules or order is that the child basically struggles with the skills. The child cannot confidently do it. The child has not understood the rules completely. The child feels that it's very hard to obey all rules and it's not engaging or motivating him because at least he cannot do it comfortably. It's taking lots of effort and attempt. So once you work on the skills, many of the behavior issue or non-compliance behavior uh, can be fixed automatically. So there are all my slides or answers to part of the question that have mentioned. But now in the QA, you can ask any question which is not answered yet. So we can move on to the next slide. It's about Q&A. Or if Tosi can bring up that former slide, we can discuss which ones are answered, which ones aren't, or we can reflect back those slides, or if there are any other questions, you can ask now. Thank you very much for taking time. And I think that at the moment we can turn off the recording for the rest of the session that is going to be taking about 5 or